Hello, everyone, and welcome to Test Run. I'm your host, Code Marvelous, and today I am again joined by Joseki, otherwise known in the real world as John.
Hmm?
Thank you
Um,
for hanging out and showing us this incredible Ayla deck or BIOS. Have we decided yet if we're actually going to call her by her nickname?
I call her by her nickname.
BIOS deck that you piloted to first place in U.S. Nationals. So, John's going to take us through the piloting. We're just waiting on an opponent, and we'll see how we can do.
Yeah, so some sort of interesting things that I mentioned in the write-up regarding the deck is that there are a lot of sort of what I said random things, but really there are just a lot of good Netrunner cards that are very strong against this deck. So hopefully we get a matchup where we can kind of show what the deck can do.
Instead of getting our bookmark best defense with 22 cards on it.
Yeah, exactly. Which also might happen. Just heads up to everybody.
Yeah.
So one of the things I feel like I'm strongest at as a player is sort of predicting what people will play. And I often say that as far as click-to-click Netrunner goes, I'm not a super strong player. There's a lot of players who I consider much, much better at me at the sort of technical, mechanical aspects of the game. But one thing I usually do quite well at is figuring out what other people are going to play. And this is sort of a textbook example of a strategy that has clear weaknesses, but also targets certain decks very specifically.
Right.
So Estelle Moon decks you're very powerful against, which have become quite popular. ETF Glacier is a strategy that you're quite powerful against. And a few other things. Any deck with 24/7 you're good against, and so forth. So I played against those decks a lot. All right, cool. So here's what we got. We're against Sync. So against Sync, when we're going into looking at our MV RAM here, we're definitely taking a bookmark, and we're definitely taking a Natch. Beyond that, I would probably take both daily casts here, with the intention of clicking them off and installing them in the first 2 turns of the game.
Yeah, that seems good.
Yep. So our hand is terrible. We have a bunch of random combo pieces, so we probably want to mulligan that one. Send the garbage back. Okay, this hand's playable. It's not, tremendously exciting, but our opening is fine, and we have Natch, safely on our BIOS. So we're going to be able to click that one off at some point. All right, so we're going to start our turn. So in general in this deck, your number 1 priority is to get your money online and rolling. So it looks like this turn is going to be click for a credit, click a daily casts off of our NV RAM, and then install 2 copies of daily casts. We just want to get this money going.
Yeah, you got to get the chain going.
Yep, so we'll probably next turn also install our 3rd daily casts, as well as maybe our Astrolabe. This game is starting off really well for us.
They didn't immediately score breaking news, so that's always
yes. Yep, they don't immediately have the breaking news, so we're in good shape. In addition to that, they're not really posturing to score early, which is a big fear of ours. All right, cool. So we have 4 clicks to go. 2 of our clicks are going to be to click off a daily cast and install it. So that's going to happen no matter what. And then I would probably here click to draw, just see what we get. Cool, another quality time, and then go ahead and throw down our Astrolabe.
Seems good.
And yep, so we just kind of getting our setup going here. At some point, our opponent is going to make new servers like that and give us cards off our Astrolabe. So there is install, breaking news. So what's notable here about the way this works is if they left a single advanced card in the table, we would be forced to take our Natch here off of our Envy RAM.
Right, because they'd be able to do the trick.
Yep, they'd be able to advance once and score Boom. Or play Boom, not score it. So yeah, we're in okay shape here. We're on 6 credits. We got some stuff rolling. I think we're going to go ahead and just kick it off with a quality time here. And what do we got? All right, so we got a bunch of good cards. Then we're going to need to start bookmarking sooner rather than later, so we can pull our bookmark off our NV RAM. and then we can slap our bookmark down. And I'm going to assume our opponent's playing best defense. And I'm going to assume that because this deck's kind of out of the bag.
Yeah.
Because they're sync and this deck's out of the bag, although sometimes you see Observe and Destroy and sync like my Grand Finals opponent had. So we're going to go ahead and bookmark 3 cards that we don't really care about. So you can go click bookmark, post 3 cards, and we're going to do Rumor Mill because I think they're not on Caprice Nisei. Self-modifying code, since our hand is quite good and we're not really going to need to tutor, and then as well as our redundant copy of Astrolabe.
And then what are we pitching?
We're probably pitching our Exploit under the assumption that they're not playing Architect.
Fair.
So as you can see, this deck has a lot of calls that are based on what you think your opponent is doing, which is, I think, somewhat uncomfortable for a lot of players, but it's a sort of design space of deck that I really enjoy.
So really quickly, so in this type of situation where you think your opponent might be on best defense, would you spread cards out across multiple bookmarks?
That is a possibility. If we have the time to do so in this game, that's definitely something that can be done. Many of the players who played the deck at the tournament ended up taking lines of play that involved installing multiple bookmarks. For now, I think we're okay. We can probably at least bookmark one more time on this bookmark and maybe hope to hit a second. But their game plan's rolling along kind of slow at this point, so that's definitely open to us.
Okay, so what are we doing here?
All right, so I'm going to guess our opponent, having seen now that we've put down a bookmark and we're playing BIOS,
knows what we're doing.
knows some shenanigans are on deck. So this turn, it definitely strikes me as more of a setup turn. So I would Diesel to kick it off. Cool. And then we can do something like, let's see, we're going to end, we have 3 more clicks. If we play 3 cards, we'll end our turn with 5 cards in hand, which is ideal. So we can go ahead and gamble. Leprechaun.
Put the hyperdriver on it.
And then stick a hyperdriver on it.
Nice.
And then that ends our turn nice and clean.
Yeah, I like that. That feels good.
Yep.
One of the biggest things with seeing your list is just seeing how I was trying to reverse engineer your deck watching the stream because I missed watching the actual full combo fire, but I didn't expect to be able to draw and set up as quickly as this deck can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we only have 25 cards in our deck, so we're going to be able to get through it really quick here, going into the final turns of the game. So we're going to start off by clicking our NVRAM and installing New Angeles City Hall. He is representing 24/7 Boom, so we have to respect that.
Yeah.
Yep, we have to respect it. We're probably going to end up bookmarking again this turn, regardless of which card draw event we play. I would probably play Diesel because we're only on 2 clicks. Yeah, we can go ahead and just play Sure Gamble, and then discard our Game Day. You don't want to go all in on Game Day against an opponent that might have best defense.
Sure.
And their scoring plan involves scoring quantum predictive models, so we're actually just beyond safe. It takes a very long time. They're only on 5 credits. They're spending a lot of clicks to draw with Jackson. They have very minimal ability to meaningfully interact at this point in the game. So they're going to install another agenda. Their deck, because they're playing quantum predictive model, that tells you right away that they're not playing Project Beal.
Right.
Which is great for us. Let's just kick it off with quality time. Get it rolling. Cool. So against yellow decks, we never install Professional Contacts, especially given that maybe on turn 1 you do, but against yellow, they're going to
MCA it. We're not going to get the value.
Yep, we're not going to make the money back. Cool. So here, I would probably do, let's see, the sequencing with this deck can be somewhat interesting.
Okay.
So we want to make sure that this bookmark continues to have non-combo pieces on it. We can put some combo pieces on it. I think we're going to probably end up bookmarking our Notoriety here.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and play Sure Gamble. And then let's go ahead and, well, we're going to end up bookmarking Professional Contacts, Notoriety, and Dean Lister. So let's just go ahead and bookmark those 3. So again, non-essential combo pieces like Notoriety, which are kind of just bonus, we can go ahead and put on the bookmark. Because if he best defenses that, we're not really at risk of anything.
We're in trouble, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, exactly. So probably just click to draw here and discard our second bookmark. Unless we draw out of the ashes, and we can discard that.
Nope.
So yeah, we'll discard the bookmark.
Come on. There you go.
There you go. Cool. So we're well on our way here.
Yeah, we only have 16 cards left. Like, we're tearing through.
Yep, and they only have 2 points scored. They're going to remove Jackson from the game. This means either that they've assessed that they have enough points in hand to win the game. Advance, 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 another kitty cat. So as you can see, their scoring plan, their route to victory here is very bad.
Yeah.
It's incredibly slow. They're only on 6 credits. It's rough. Quality time. Jam it.
Wow,
sweet. There we go. All right. So let's get another hyperdriver down. And as you can see, we only have 11 cards in our deck. Like, we're basically 2 turns away from winning at this point. Notable cards in our deck still are Third Hyperdriver and Faust.
Right.
Okay. So go ahead and click to draw. All right. Let's use our last click to bookmark. And we're going to bookmark Proco, and probably Ashkara Serene. Ashkara Serene, again, non-essential combo piece, though very good. Go ahead and pitch an Ashes. Again, pitching Ashes along the way means our combo turn is going to be more flexible.
Right. And our opponent is playing Sig, so they have, like, bullshit ice, most likely.
Yeah, exactly. It is important to note, though, that if they do manage to get to 6 points and a quantum predictive model is still in the game, we have to clear tags.
Right.
That's an easy way to accidentally lose in this matchup.
Yeah. It's not great.
Install advance, advance. That's a GFI. Okay. So given that that's a GFI, they're going to be on 6 points. This turn, we are going to probably draw 3 or 4 cards, and we're going to hope that we hit Hyperdriver off of those cards. They're going to score GFI on their next turn, and then on our next subsequent turn, we are going to attempt to beat them.
Okay.
So click 1, draw. What do we get? Chameleon. Click 1, draw. Click 2, draw. Another New Angeles. Draw again. All right. We might only be going off with 2 hyperdrivers here, which again is not the end of the world in this deck, but also not ideal. It is notable that we actually probably have an additional turn because they will be on 1 credit after their next turn, which means they can't score breaking news out of their hand.
That's true.
So we will probably go ahead and bookmark 3 cards. Chameleon, Dean, and New Angeles is probably fine. So we can end the turn. So again, this is another problem with their score out plan. Because they're scoring so many 3-1 agendas, they're very poor.
Right. Right. And as you predicted, that's where we're at. Yep. All right.
Cool.
So walk me through it.
We're gonna take another turn. We're not gonna go off this turn.
Okay.
The reason is because they can't score to 1 point with 1 credit. Unless they have subliminal messaging, in which case, okay, you got me. So go ahead and draw a card. All right, that's wonderful. Draw again. That's also wonderful. I would probably install Hyperdriver.
We still don't have a breaker.
It's in our bottom 5 cards. We're going to spend some clicks
drawing
to draw them on our combo turn. And that's okay. We don't really want to click to draw again, in all honesty. Namely because if we draw our Faust, we're going to have to discard an essential combo piece. So I think... no, it's risky. This is a risk situation. We have a 1 in 5 chance of drawing our Faust, which is very poor for us if that happens. So I think we just click for a credit and discard out of the ashes with the intention of winning on our next turn.
Now, if there's, I don't want to accidentally screw this up. I'm sure
I'll
you've
walk
played
you
the
through it.
game on JNet.
Hmm.
You've played. Can you walk me through what order I need to click cards to not screw stuff up?
Sure, I will. I'll do my best. Actually, what's interesting is I've never played the Stack Engine Techie because we were keeping it secret leading up to Nationals. Okay, cool. So they install something and they click for credits representing a quantum predictive model.
Okay.
So click Start Turn. We're going to make an Out of the Ashes run on Archives. And then we're done. No more Out of the Ashes for us. And then we're going to take 3 hyperdrivers by clicking them each. Wonderful. And then we're going to take our clicks. All right. So let's math it out, right? We're going to play Apocalypse, Encore, Encore, Encore. That's 4 clicks, bringing us down to 9. We're going to have to make 2 central runs, bringing us down to 7 clicks, which means that we have 5 clicks to draw cards out of our deck, and we're also going to have to install Faust. The worst case scenario is Faust is the last card in our deck. Hopefully that's not the case, so let's just click to draw. Click to draw. Diesel, perfect. Wonderful. Install Faust.
Pop bookmark.
Yep. Well, yeah, pop bookmark. It doesn't matter versus yellow, but there are situations where you want to wait until you encounter something like Kamainu because there's cards in hand goofiness.
Sure.
But anyway, go ahead and make a run on HQ.
Oh, okay. Just without.
We can pop the bookmark on encounter.
Sure.
Which is sort of like the mechanically sound way to do it.
Sure. Yeah, walk me through it.
Yep. So we're gonna make a run here. We have a large credit pool because we prioritized our daily casts early in the game and we're able to play all of our sure gambles. No res here, that's expected. They're on 3 credits. We're going to get an access. IP block. Cool. Go ahead and make a run on R&D. Resistor. Break with Out of the Ashes.
Right, because then it's there for future encore turns.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool. Now, a few things need to happen here. Step 1, boost Faust with Out of the Ashes.
Just to get it out of our hand?
Boost it. We just want it in the bin. Awesome. Step 2, take Bookmark.
I'm assuming just the trash version.
Trash version, ideally. Yep. Awesome. Now we have a massive hand. Now we play Apocalypse. Boom. Wonderful. We have 6 clicks, so Encore, Encore, Encore. This deck just brings so much joy to my heart to play with. It's just the quintessential Shaper madness. Let's install Akshara Serene. That'll give us a click back, so we're still going to have 3 clicks. Wonderful. Let's go ahead and play our Notoriety. All right, so at this point, we have done everything we need to do to begin
winning the game.
Yep. So let's go ahead and drop our Equivocation. Interesting thing here, he does have the money for an Archangel, so that may happen in, during the process of this, which will tax us a bit, but should be okay. Sometimes it's really bad if they have the Archangel, because it can totally blow you out. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and make a run on R&D for our click here. Top card. We know it's IP block or a Turnpike, so we'll make them draw it. And then we'll access the next one. Let's pay a credit to trash that. Awesome. So we got to discard to hand size. So there really isn't... It doesn't really matter. If we fail to go off, if we fail to win for some bizarre reason, it's nice to have the rumor mill so they can't Jackson.
Right.
I'd probably keep the New Angeles again if we fail to go off. Prevents us from getting boomed if we get some extra accesses. The SMC can go because we have no deck and no recursion, and the Dean Lister can probably go as well. All right, end our turn. We're gonna use all of our Out of the Ashes on R&D here.
This is so good. Like this is
I know.
this makes me so happy.
They're going to draw that pop-up window, and we see an Archive Memories. We're going to go ahead and make another out of the Ashes run on R&D. Go ahead and draw that Archive Memories and a hedge fund. All right, another Out of the Ashes run. We'll have one more Out of the Ashes run after this one. Draw that hedge fund. And yeah, we can trash the Jackson here. We have the money, so we're in fine shape. We just can't go below 2 because we might have to reinstall Equivocation from Archangel.
Right.
All right, cool. So we got 5 runs. Let's make 5 runs on R&D. They don't draw that. We're going to take that one. All right, run R&D. And again, Ashkara Serene here is going to give us a bonus click on every turn. They can go ahead and draw the Data Raven. 24/7, cool. It's also really
rad.
Yeah. It's also really likely that they have an agenda in the bin because they installed one on we trashed and installed face down. So if for some bizarre reason we haven't managed to win the game,
we'll just check archives.
Check archives with our last click. Steal that. Breaking news. Now the path to victory for them is pretty much non-existent now because if they had it in hand and we fizzled, they could have scored it, but they can't. We'll take our additional encore turn here. Go ahead and keep doing it. Keep jamming.
Is so dumb. Like, no.
Steal that. So one more GFI will get us there. Lots of things will get us there. Draw that Data Raven.
Oh, there it is.
There's the Archangel. So they can fire it. We'll have to reinstall Equivalation. Yep, that subroutine is going to fire. So this is something you got to be aware of. It can happen, which is why, again, we can't go below 2.
He decided he did not want to do it.
Okay, cool. So you can do close prompt, I think.
Yeah. And that's game.
Ta-da! So this is basically just a replay of the on-stream game of the Grand Finals, in which the game played out in a remarkably similar way.
And it's worth noting we still had one more five-click turn to completely mill them out.
Yep.
If by some miracle we didn't actually find agendas. See, that's the thing that's really impressive to me is how quickly this sets up.
Mm-hmm. So we actually did a lot of math, just like sort of combinatorics on like the overall speed of the deck as compared to the overall rate at which Corpse can score out.
Right.
Just to make sure we had sort of a mathematical basis for our understanding of the deck's speed. And we are a turn 9 deck, pretty firmly. We might have gone off on turn 10 this game because we had a flex turn.
Right.
You could, if you scroll all the way up, I'm sure you could check. But we basically just ran simulations goldfishing the deck on Jinteki and gathering data in private games. Goldfishing meaning playing against the goldfisher by yourself. So
it was turn 10. You were exactly right. It was turn 10.
Yep. Yep. So it's always going to be turn 9 or 10 with this deck.
That's really interesting.
Yep. And it's mathematically true. So in games where you don't draw quality times and diesels early, you end up clicking to draw. But that's fine because at some point in the game you draw your quality times.
You do hit them, right. Since we're drawing the whole deck, we do eventually get the value out of all draw cards.
Exactly, which means that the deck is very, very consistent on winning on turn 9 or 10 because you do see your entire deck every game at approximately the same rate.
Right. That's nice. Thank you very much for walking me through it because this is a really cool deck, but like the piloting is not
it's not intuitive.
It's not intuitive if you haven't played a deck like this before. Mm-hmm. Well,
it was not intuitive to us either. We spent a long time ourselves not quite sure how good the deck is because we didn't really know how to play it well.
Turns out really good.
Yeah, it turns out it's quite strong.
Yeah, turns out really good. Well, I mean, I think obviously, as you said, there's counters that people can now include, but also in a situation like Nationals, people are just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, they have no idea what you're doing, so they don't know how to play. They don't know if they should rush. Because they don't know what you know what I'm saying. They don't know what you're going for. So each opponent probably thought of lines that they had afterwards, but it doesn't matter. That round of Swiss is done.
Exactly, and even I would say that all of the matches I played in the cut, None of my opponents took correct lines, which I think speaks to the complexity of the matchup. One of the things is our opponent installed an ice on HQ, which doesn't make any sense. We're never running HQ because we're just going to get, if we do something, we're going to get hard hit, right? Or we're going to lose our natch. Like, we're never going to make a run. 0% chance of making a run. So they also installed an ice on a remote. That's a wasted click, right? So our opponent probably wasted 3 to 6 clicks this game that they could have used to rush.
Right.
But how are they to know? Like they haven't played the matchup as much as, we have, or they haven't played against the deck that much.
Right.
So, and you can think of Netrunner, it's like if you waste 4 clicks in a game, you essentially skipped a turn.
Right.
So,
Right. I don't know if you listened to the podcast, but we had Dan Giargenio on, and he talked about maintaining tempo, and he's just like, every click that you waste, he's like, in middle table or lower play, you can waste clicks because other people aren't playing perfectly efficient.
Yep.
In higher levels of play where people get like weeded out of like the top third and don't make the cut, it's because the people that you're playing rarely waste a click.
Exactly. And that's something that I'm very weak at in Netrunner in particular. It's not my strongest aspect of my gameplay, is that sort of mechanical turn-to-turn click perfect play. There are a lot of great players, Dan, Noah McKee, Josh Wilson, players who you watch them play and they just put on a seminar on how strong their mechanical play is in the game. So I tend to play decks, like I said, that are a little bit more metagame dependent because that plays to my strengths. But one of my big projects leading up to Worlds is to spend a lot of time playing really normal Netrunner decks and getting good at that.
This isn't normal, John?
Play.
Come on, this is really normal. This is the new meta right here.
The new meta is go to Nationals with 2 decks where the goal is to draw your entire deck and score 7 points in 1 turn.
I mean, it works. And I think
it did work for me.
And and I think one of the most interesting things about this is with CI, obviously, it's also a deck that can win very fast, right? Mm-hmm. But since you're the corp, the runner has ways of interfering with you without actually like having to run. What's neat about this deck is basically most good ways that the corp has of fucking with you requires you to run to make yourself vulnerable. So unlike the CI deck where people can play Clot and SACCON, of course you have outs against that, but people can do things that you have no control over that now affect your line of play in the CI deck. With this, there's very few good cards that people would want to slot in their deck that doesn't require some type of interaction. Best Defense being one of the notable exceptions.
Yep. There are very powerful cards against this deck. Like you said, Best Defense. Early Sand City Grid can be very problematic.
Sure.
Because it's very fast. If they have on turn 3, they're Res and Sand and they're just scoring beetles off it.
That's a problem.
That's a big problem. So we kind of expected that the yellow decks would be on Quantum Predictive Model and Boom, which is what made this such a strong meta call. Is I didn't play against a single.
They never want to score anything besides a 2/1.
Yep, exactly. And their deck is not built to score out, as we saw in that game. They had 1 credit. And if you watch the Grand Finals game, as well as the game I played against Jeff Odell on stream, both against Sync Boom decks, this exact situation occurred where they had 1 credit and were unable to score a 2/1 to win the game. And I knew that in past turn. Right. Just in the exact same way that this game played out. So, it sort of speaks to the fact that those decks don't really have an actual game plan to race you. Right. They rely on the runner interacting to sort of make windows for themselves to win.
Right.
Whereas this deck isn't really interested in any of that. It's much more interested in just getting to turn 9 and then milling your whole deck.
Right. Well, and it's one of the things that I've often talked to people about. If you don't have back when Power Shutdown hadn't been errated, Power Shutdown CI, when people would be like, I can't find my counters. I'm like, then stop running.
Yeah. Stop running.
Stop running and just draw until you see Clots and SACCONs because they can't 7-point shutdown you. Until you run, but if you keep frantically running trying to close the game, you're going to give them the opportunity to do the combo.
Yep, absolutely. And it's one of those things where I think one of the attitudes there is somewhat of an attitude thing there, at least for me, where even if something's really good and even if I don't like it, I take it upon myself to find ways to interact with it.
Right.
Even if they're not my personal desirable favorite way to play Netrunner, I still look to ways that I can improve my wins against decks like CI7, for example. And I think some of the newer CI7 decks I find a little frightening, but I think some people feel that way as well. But you still can do things. You can still include cards in your deck that make you stronger. So, for example, if I was going to play Lock Haley, I would probably play 3 Deep Data Mining.
Right, because you're just like, I hear seeing 5 cards is pretty good.
Yep, so you can just see 5 cards multiple times a game and legwork them, and if that's 18 accesses just from that. 18 accesses is more than enough to win a game of Netrunner.
Right.
So, if you have to really sort of sit down and go, okay, what wins? Like, what is a possible way to win against this? And that's something that I think that everyone can benefit from more, is just thinking of yourself a little bit more as a deck builder and sort of going, okay, I have this deck, what needs to change, to improve it?
Right.
And I think you can basically, I said, recently in a post that I think there's about 8 tier 1 decks that I can see winning a national level event on either side of the table, runner or corp.
That's pretty good, though.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah.
It means that you can make meta calls. It means you can just play a good regular Wizard or Andy or Shaper and do well. I hear you just top 8'd regionals with Smoke and Blue Sun. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's sick, right? Like, you were playing like basically core set Netrunner, right? Where you're like, I'm going to get accesses, I'm installing my Ice Breakers, and I'm going to make runs. And that is a valid and strong way to play Netrunner right now. And
well, yeah, the big thing with Blue Sun, the reason I did Blue Sun is because I knew that there was going to be a lot of other Smoke players, because Smoke is more popular in this area for whatever reason. And I'm like, do you know what Smoke doesn't break really efficiently? Curtain Wall.
No. Curtain Wall's pretty brutal against Shaper in general. Right,
but like especially Blackstone.
Oh yeah.
3 stealth credits and like $11, please.
Yeah, I'll take that. Oh, by the way, MCA, your film critic,
Yeah, right. But that's exactly it. So like it was a complete meta call, because I was like, well, I need to probably kill people. So how can I make a deck where I can rush agendas? And it might Ian, who's the Wayland devotee of my meta, it was his baby that we just kind of talked about and brainstormed on. But it's just like, we can just make our one server into mud, because we noticed that a lot of the runner decks are pretty slow, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're trying not to die, right? Or like Wizard is built to like fight the Estelle Moon matchup, but like doesn't actually break ice that well because they're not planning on encountering that much ice.
Yep.
And then I'm just like, I'm going to just jam out behind this curtain wall until you stop me. And then when you stop me, I'm going to mid-season or hard-hitting news you and kill you.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of like working with someone else on a deck, right? Is you really start having someone to sort of affirm and challenge your opinions about like what different archetypes are doing, leads you to really interesting conclusions, as you found like going into regionals.
Right. And then again, for me with Smoke, it was just a very simple thing where I was just like, well, I don't actually want to play the things that counter Moon, because I just had no interest in playing those decks. So I was just like, so I need to be a Shaper that sets up fast, gets in cheap, and can get me a lot of accesses over the course of the game. Hey, that's Smoke.
Exactly. Yeah, I just played Smoke at a G&K today, and I can confirm Smoke is sick.
Yeah. Well, people always say, oh, Smoke's stealth credit is what makes her good. I'm like, no, it's actually the 40-card deck size.
40-card deck, like, there's a lot of things. Her breakers are cheap to install is another thing.
Yeah.
You can make very aggressive plays with Smoke because of how efficient your overall economy is. Like, it's a very flexible deck that can be played in a pretty large number of ways, and there's a lot of interesting builds of Smoke out there that are really cool. I've been actually going back to Mirror recently.
Wow.
For reasons because I enjoy playing Nerve Agent in Smoke. So that sort of provides the MU to be able to have your Cloaks down and your Nerve Agent.
That's really cool.
So
what's your R&D access?
Indexing.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like the standard indexing Mad Dash package, but I sort of realized that Moons isn't really going to heavily ice HQ against you ever, and they pretty much always flood out. So if you just like SMC for Nerve Agent and go ham with the Temujin,
people are going to be like, what's going on?
Yeah, and you're just going to take 6 points and like, walk away.
That is a really good idea. But yeah, anyway, but I could talk about Smoke forever. So, but yeah, John, thank you very much for coming on the channel and walking us through the deck. I know a lot of people on my channel were really hoping you'd come on the show, so I'm happy to have had you on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
And congrats, well deserved, and breaking the meta and winning Nats. So
I do my best. Hopefully, I can do it again at Worlds, right?
yeah, I mean, I'll see you there. I mean, my very ambitious goal at Worlds is to be the top smoke player at Worlds.
Sick. I
Yeah.
hope you make that. That'd be awesome.
But yeah, man, thanks very much for coming on. And everybody watching at home, until we see you again, always be running.